Broadcasting from the Professional Fantasy Football League studios in Marina Del Rey, California, I'm your host, John Hampton. This is PFFL Live. Welcome to this Saturday, Week 5 edition of PFFL Live. There's not a lot of headlines in the NFL. We're going to take this time to talk about some interesting matchups. Let's start off with quite a nostalgic battle of two timeless quarterbacks, the Patriots and Tom Brady, versus Peyton Manning and his new Bronco crew. Everyone used to love watching Brady and Manning go head-to-head in the old Patriot versus Colts matchups. But this year, we get to see Manning get his new team into the mix. Last week, Manning completed 79% of his passes, so clearly he and his receivers are starting to get in sync. I mean, if Demaryius Thomas wouldn't have randomly fumbled that wide-open touchdown pass, Peyton would have had an even more monstrous game. The Patriots threw everyone off guard last week and ran the ball more than I can recall ever seeing them run it, and it worked. Let's see how much of last week's running success comes to play in this matchup. But I think the rivalry between these two quarterbacks will lead to a lot more passing from Tom Brady. I think the Broncos are going to win it. Call me crazy, but I think they've got more talent on their team right now, and I don't think the Patriots can keep up. Another somewhat interesting development around the league is one that I cringe to even think about. Sanchez and Tebow. I mean, these guys get more media coverage than is believable, considering not one of them is a starting caliber QB, and they're both on teams that won't make it to the playoffs. But yet, week in, week out, they're at the top of the headlines. One is too busy with his modeling career and being the cover of GQ, while the other is straight up just annoying with his constant media coverage and chipper attitude. But after the putrid week against the 49ers, a QB controversy is in the works. Will Tebow take over for a struggling Mark Sanchez? I don't think so, and to be honest, I don't really care. I hate the Jets. This news is irrelevant. Their team is garbage. Yeah, I said it. Moving on, let's move to a recap of Thursday night's matchup of the Rams versus the Cardinals. On Thursday, Arizona's undefeated season came to a close against the Rams. Arizona up to this point just hasn't shown the ability to make the plays on the offensive side. Ryan Williams got stuffed for most of the first half and then sat out with a shoulder injury. Kevin Kolb looked terrible as per usual. Will somebody pin that dude down and shave that thing off his face? I mean, for real, buddy, do something about that. If you aren't going to play like a real QB, then at least pull a Mark Sanchez and try to look like a stud for the female audience. You look like a douchey frat boy that would wear cargo shorts and K-Swiss into a bar with puka shells and a polo shirt on Friday night and pound PBRs and Jaeger shots. Yuck. Danny Amendola has had a good season up till Thursday night when he dislocated his shoulder. Look for him to be out for at least 6 weeks. This is bad news for the Rams. This guy was their #1 receiver and seemed to be really one of, if not the biggest offensive threat on what is already a suffering offense. Steven Jackson and Daryl Richardson tried to get the game going, and at one point in the third quarter it looked pretty good. But neither found the end zone, so fantasy-wise, neither was really relevant. I gotta say, the NFC West, in my opinion, is the most underrated division in the NFL. I mean, yeah, we all know the Niner defense is for real. But into the start of the season, we've seen Arizona, Seattle, and even the Rams show that they're all good defenses. It'll be interesting to see what happens as we enter the middle part of the season with these teams. All right, that's it for the Thursday recap. Let's move on to our PFFL injury update. All right, so no new major injuries, but some lingering ones that might be on the list all season long. Let's start out with the guys who will not play this week. Make sure none of these guys are in your lineup or you will get a goose egg on the scoreboard. Greg Jennings, Hakeem Nicks, Lance Moore. All of the wide receivers are riding the bench this week. Look for third and fourth string guys like James Jones, Dominic Hickson, and Devery Henderson to pick up extra looks and possibly be fantasy sleepers this week due to these injuries. Now on to the Texans. Both Andre Johnson and Owen Daniels are listed as questionable. Both were limited in practice all week. However, I think both of them should play against the Jets this Sunday. Next up, over to the Patriots. Aaron Hernandez is listed as questionable for his return. He might make it back, but I find it unlikely. Rob Gronkowski, who is also listed as questionable and was limited in practice, should play against the Broncos and is much more likely to than Hernandez. Kenny Britt, also listed as questionable, but I'm pretty sure he'll be on the field this Sunday. Just look for him to be limited in the action he sees. I wouldn't start him, yet he's also facing an underrated Vikings defense. That's it for today's show. Thank you always for listening. I'm John Hampton. You can reach me on Twitter at RealJohnHampton directly with any questions and comments about the show. If you want to be a guest,
please send me an email or a tweet. My email address is john@thatday.la.
For more news, updates, and smack talk, visit us at thepffl.com. That's the-pffl.com. This has been a presentation of the PFFL.